We're so often told that science and faith are at war with each other. But what if I told you that's just not true? What if the greatest scientific discoveries of our lifetime actually point to a truth the Bible was talking about thousands of years ago? I want you to stick with me because what I'm about to show you is pretty mind-blowing.
For centuries, the debate was really simple. On one side, you had the atheist worldview, which basically said the universe has always been here. It's eternal. No beginning, and, well, no need for a beginner. But on the other side, the Bible kicks off with this incredibly bold claim. In the beginning. A clear, definitive starting point. For the longest time, these two ideas were just in total conflict.
But then, everything changed. Scientists started looking out into space, and they found something incredible. The universe is expanding. Everything is moving away from everything else. Now just run that film backward in your mind. If everything's moving apart now, it means that at some point way back in the past, it must have all been crammed together at a single explosive starting point. A beginning.
This idea, of course, became the Big Bang Theory. It's really the bedrock of all modern cosmology, and it lines up perfectly with that ancient idea of a distinct beginning. But here's the part of the story that most people don't know. Who do you think first came up with this idea?
That's right, the Big Bang Theory wasn't cooked up by an atheist trying to get rid of God. It was first proposed way back in 1927 by Georges Lemaitre, who was not only a brilliant physicist, but also a Belgian Catholic priest.
See, Lemaitre was just doing his job as a scientist. He was following the evidence. The math pointed to a beginning, and he had the courage to say it. On the other hand, you had the famous atheist astronomer Fred Hoyle. He's actually the one who mockingly came up with the name Big Bang, and he hated the theory for years. Why? He later admitted his objection was philosophical. He said the idea of a beginning sounded too much like a form of special creation. So think about that. The priest followed the science. The atheist followed his philosophy.
So let's just pause on that for a second. For hundreds of years, the Bible said there was a beginning. The dominant atheistic philosophy said, no, it's always been here. And then science, led by a man of faith, proved the Bible had it right from the get-go. But believe me, the story does not end there. It actually gets way more compelling.
You see, as scientists started digging into the details of that beginning, they started measuring the fundamental forces of the universe. And what they found was absolutely staggering. The conditions at that very first moment weren't just random. They were fine-tuned with a precision that's almost impossible for the human mind to even wrap itself around.
Let's start with gravity. Its strength is dialed in to an accuracy of 1 part in 10 to the 40th power. Okay, that's a 1 with 40 zeros after it. That number is so huge, it's basically meaningless without some kind of comparison.
So let me try to put this into perspective. Imagine you have a tape measure that stretches across the entire known universe, all 93 billion light years of it. If the strength of gravity was off by more than the width of a single inch on that cosmic tape measure, none of us would be here. The universe would have either instantly collapsed back in on itself, or it would have expanded so fast that stars and galaxies could never have formed. It's that precise.
And if you think that's insane, check this out. The expansion rate of the universe itself, what they call the cosmological constant, is fine-tuned to 1 part in 10 to the 60th power. Now we're talking about a 1 followed by 60 zeros.
I mean, how do you even visualize that? Here's an analogy. Imagine filling the entire universe with grains of sand. Every planet, every star, every empty void, filled with sand. Now imagine one of those tiny grains is painted red. The odds of you reaching in, blindfolded, and picking out that single red grain on your very first try are actually better than the odds of the expansion rate being what it is by accident.
And look, it's not just 1 or 2 lucky numbers. It's more like walking into a cosmic control room and seeing thousands of dials. A dial for gravity, a dial for the expansion rate, a dial for the nuclear forces that hold atoms together, and on and on. And every single one of those dials is set to the exact razor's edge value needed for life to exist. If you nudge any one of them, even a tiny bit, the whole thing falls apart.
So all of this evidence really forces a question on you, a question you just can't ignore. Is this unbelievable, life-sustaining precision the result of some cosmic fluke, some random accident, or is it the result of intentional design?
Well, if you've already decided there can't be a designer, what do you do with all this evidence? You can't just accept the obvious answer. So instead, an alternative explanation had to be invented. And let me tell you, it requires a leap of faith that is truly enormous. This is where the multiverse comes in.
The idea is, well, maybe there are an infinite number of universes out there, and each one has a different set of dials. And we just happen to be living in the one lucky universe, where all 1,000 dials happen to be set just right for life. The big problem? There's not a shred of evidence for it. These other universes, you can't see them, you can't detect them, you can't prove they exist in any way. It's a purely philosophical idea.
So this is the choice they're giving us. On the one hand, you can believe in one designer, whose handiwork, this unbelievably fine-tuned universe we can see and measure and observe everywhere we look. Or you can believe in an infinite number of unobservable universes for which there's literally zero evidence. So let me ask you, which one of those requires more faith?
Let's just call this what it is. The multiverse isn't a scientific theory that grew out of the evidence. It's a philosophical escape hatch. It was born out of a desperate need to explain away what looks for all the world like design.
Meanwhile, you can just open a Bible and read a verse written thousands of years ago, and it just seems to fit perfectly with everything we've discovered. The heavens declare the glory of God. The skies proclaim the work of his hands. You know, maybe the simplest explanation has been the right one all along. The only question is, are we willing to see it?